everyone, and welcome to my Flosstube video number 4. My name is Anne. Today is December 5th, 2016. How's everybody been doing? It's been a month since I talked to you guys last. I have a ton of stuff to talk about today. I feel like I hardly got anything done in November, but at the same time, I have a whole bunch of stuff, so I must have been more productive than I thought. One quick note that I wanted to make you all aware of: if you are on Instagram, I have an Instagram account that is Little Bird Stitcher, all one word, and so I would love you to come find me so that I can follow you as well if you are on Instagram. I use Instagram a lot. I wasn't sure I would like it, but once I started using it, I usually post every day, pretty close to that. It's just fun. I like the fact that it's a quick little post and it's very visual. So anyway, that is me on Instagram. So today on my Flosstube podcast, I have, let's see, some FFOs to share with you. I also have a whole bunch of works in progress. I have my December plans, as well as a few things that I've switched around for 2017 to kick the new year off, and just all kinds of good stuff. Let's get started. I apologize if you guys can hear snoring in the background. My older dog is, she had a really busy weekend because we've had this weekend and last weekend we had 2 separate sets of house guests. My parents were here for Thanksgiving. They came in on Tuesday before Thanksgiving and they stayed through till the following Monday. And then my mother-in-law arrived on Thursday and she's been here this past weekend and she just left today. So the dogs have been, you know, out and all kind of wound up, and it's like having little kids in the house where they're all excited for the holidays and new people and kind of bouncing off the walls. And the 2-year-old dog, it's not such a big thing for her. She bounces back pretty quickly, but our 12-year-old she's wiped out. I think she's going to wind up sleeping all day, and she's laying right here. So I apologize if you can hear her snoring, but she's totally content and I'm not going to disturb her if I don't have to. So let's talk about some cross-stitch things. The first thing I can share with you guys are the 3 little ornaments that I have completely finished. You saw them stitched up on my last video, but here they are now. These are all Little House Needleworks patterns. I've done them all with the same little checked plaid check backing that's red and green. So there's this one and this one, and this little guy. I thought these came out super cute, and so these are all ready to go in the gift boxes and go to their recipients. So that is really good because I'm trying to get I like to get my gift boxes out in the mail fairly early. So those are done and ready to go. And when I was working on ornaments this fall, my husband was like, "You're doing 4 ornaments? My gosh, you're not, I mean, who are we giving all of those to?" And as it turned out, I probably could have stitched another 3 or 4 on top of the ones that I finished, because now that we're kind of kicking off the holiday party season, I have others that I would like to give as, you know, hostess gifts, or we have a friend who has her first tree. I would love to be able to, you know, have more to share. So while I'll talk about that a little bit in my 2017 plans, there will probably be some ornament stitching going on over the course of 2017 so that I'm not doing nothing but Christmas ornaments when next December hits and I think, ooh, I should have done that. Okay, so those are finished. The other FFO I have to show you guys, I did get finished and framed in time for Thanksgiving, and it was up on our sideboard. This is the Babushka's Blossoms that I finished up last month. I picked up the frame from an Etsy seller called the Rusty Roof. And it was really great because you were able to pick the size that you wanted and then also pick the finish. And he's got some sort of standard stock ones that have different complexity or different detail for this portion of it. None of them are really ornate. They're mostly pretty straightforward, kind of vintagey, reclaimed wood feeling to them. Oops, sorry for the glare. There you go. But anyway, I ordered this in, I believe it's the Distressed Black colorway that I thought went really nicely with some of the colors in the cross stitch itself. And so that I got all framed up, and that was on our sideboard for Thanksgiving. So I will put a link in Helper Kitty, Emma, making a foray into Mount Stitchy. Okay, sorry about that. I will put a link in the show notes to this Etsy shop because I know there were several of you who follow me on Instagram and asked about where I got in the frame. So I thought the price was pretty reasonable. It came with glass. It was packaged really nicely, and it wasn't super, super expensive. I think it came to around $31 or $32 with shipping. So for me, that's a good deal because you know, we're an hour from the closest Michael's or Joann's, so for me to go and browse frames, it isn't something I can do very easily. I have to sort of plan to make a trip. So yeah, so that was nice, and I certainly would use him again. The service was good. I think he shipped it in maybe 2 days. And like I said, you can pick custom sizes, which is fantastic. Because sometimes I ordered a 12 by 12 frame for this, and I was having trouble finding anything other than the 8 by 8s. So that was another reason why I purchased through him. It was my first time using this particular seller, but you know, like I said, good service. It was exactly like I thought it was going to be. I really like it, so I will use him again. Okay, so that is it for my FFOs and any FOs. I don't have anything else finished at this point. So what have I been working on? Let's start with my 2 Heaven and Earth designs. I did put some time in on a stitching shelf, and I have it about, well, not about, I have the first half of the first page finished. That is where I am right now on that. And I am working this in columns. I have decided that for me, that's how my brain is wired, and it seems to work best. And I'm also using the waist knot method to get started, which with the threads, so you can see that there. And that's, now that I've kind of gotten that squared away in my mind about how I want to do it, that's actually been working really well for this. So I will continue to do that as I work across this massively large piece. So that is all the progress on that. And I have also been working a little more with more focus on my decorating the wreath ornament, which is also a Heaven and Earth design. And I keep thinking, oh, I've almost got a page finish. Oh, I've almost got a page finish. And then every time I pick it up, I don't have a page finish. I am closer to that as a final thing, but I'm not there yet. So here is where I am, however. So I am making progress on it. I've got the bow almost completely finished. There's just a few little small tidbits that need to get filled in, and I've gone as far, this is the top edge right here. So I've gone as far up on that as the design goes. And you can also see right here is the beginnings of the little mouse tail. She's up there at the top, kind of reaching down on the top corner. So this has been kind of my thing that I've focused on in terms of my heaven and earth designs. So I'm getting there. I would love to have a page finish on this at some point in this month. That would be really great. It would make me feel like I'm kind of getting there. And I have put quite a bit of time in on it. One thing I'm going to try to do in videos going forward, which you sort of have to plan ahead to do this, but I'd like to try to grab a screenshot or just a photo for you guys to show you where I've been and then how much I've accomplished or not in any given video. So, because it's even hard for me, even looking back over the course of a week. I mean, I feel like, oh, well, I have done more on this, but it doesn't feel like you're making any progress, really. It doesn't. And I'm still kind of laughing to myself that I was like, oh, I started this in September, I'll have it done for Christmas. No, will not be done for Christmas. There is no way. Christmas of this year. Maybe not even Christmas of 2017. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that would be my ultimate goal, is to have this finished and ready to display for Christmas 2017. So working on that one. So those are both in progress, and I'm going by my notes because I wound up making myself a whole page of notes here, because if I didn't, I'm never going to remember all of this. Okay, next, let me get this out of its container. This is actually not quite caught up, but I have been working on, excuse the rustling, the Tempting Tangles Welcome Mystery Stitch Along. And a new clue just came out this past weekend, but with house guests, I didn't get any done on it. And so this is where I am right now. This is clues 1 through 6, and then clue 7 just came out like I said, this weekend. So I'm really enjoying working on that. I am doing this on a 32 count linen from Picture This Plus. It's the colorway is called Wren, and I opted not to do the DMC floss that the original called for. I'm doing it with Gentle Arts floss, which I'm really enjoying. I really, really like that. Yeah, so that's my project progress on that. That's a really, really manageable stitch along for me, because I can do each of the clues in at most a couple hours. So even if I did it over 2 nights worth of stitching, I can be caught up fairly easily. I did also sign up for the Freedom Stitch Along that is being hosted also by Deb over at Tempting Tangles. And I had it all kitted up, and looking at my want to do list for the rest of the year and into 2017, I decided that I would hold off on starting that because I've got so much going. And you know, I really did not think I was going to be somebody who liked to like have a whole bunch of stuff on the go. And I'm not, in the sense that it makes me kind of anxious that I can't work on everything that I want to work on over the course of a month. So I love, I mean, who doesn't like starting something new? It's fun, it's shiny, it's exciting. But I can't have but so many things on the go because I don't feel like I'm making any progress on them. So I'm going to hold off on starting that one, and you know, I won't keep up with the stitch along, but I have subscribed to it, and like I said, I have the stuff for it kitted up. So at some point I will work on it, and it probably won't be until after the stitch along is completely over. The welcome stitch along goes through, I think it's mid-April. So I know I'll have that one finished, you know, before too much of the turn of the year gets under its belt. So that said, I do have another new start, which I had said I was going to do last time if I finished up my ornaments, which I did. And this is a project that I have earmarked to work on for 2017. The Stitch Mania group is having a quarterly stitch along that's themed on whatever that season is. So once winter kicks off, it will be winter. And it will go from the beginning of the year through March 21st. And so I had selected this pattern from the drawn thread called the Winter Garden. I'm going to do all 4 in this series. I love them all. I think they're really fun. I am doing this on the called for fabric, but I have changed out the floss, the threads on it. So the fabric is a 32 count, it's Witchelt linen, and it is, what's the colorway name? Frosty Pearl, Smoky Pearl. So I have started this one. And I've been working on it very slowly. I haven't put a ton of time into it, although this week, this is kind of going to be my focus. I've put together a rotation for myself that I'm going to try and see how it works. But anyway, this would be up for this week's rotation. I will talk more about that in my plans section. I have most of this dogwood finished. I have a couple of, you can see the little kind of white blossoms. There's a pale pink in there too that I haven't finished, but that that motif is done. And these are really fun because each section basically is its own little mini finish, or at least it feels like that to me. So I'm working on the dogwood, and then the juniper is where I am currently. I just worked on that a little bit yesterday. And the pattern isn't huge. This is the whole height of it, and I'd say right about there is going to be the middle point that'll line up underneath the house that's in the center. So I am doing, the floss that I'm using is, again, Gentle Arts thread, and the original called for either NPI silk or dinky dyes. I think that's all that's in this one. Yeah, so there are some conversion charts out there. The dinky dyes was easy to do. The NPI silk, I couldn't find a chart. There may be one that exists, but if there is, I didn't run into it. So I winged it a little bit, and so far I've been really pretty happy with how those are, how the colors are reading. So I will keep working on that. This one also has some fun specialty stitches, which you can see up at the top there for the snowflakes. Hadn't done some of those in a long time, so my brain had to remember what my fingers sort of knew, but my brain couldn't remember like all the specific steps to get some of these done. But I really like the effect, and there are other specialty stitches in this as well. And I don't think you can see from this photo. This does not want to focus up. There's the little urns that have the smaller plants in them, and those have specialty stitches on them. There might be a couple others in one of the trees, but the snowflakes for sure, and those the little urns. So I'm working on that as we speak. My plan is to try to have that done by March. We'll, see how it goes. I'll, again, getting to plans as we get there. Let's see. Oh, and certainly last not least, I also started See the startitis. I mean, you know, it's just, I gotta rein myself in. Okay, is January wordplay. And this is a pattern from With Thy Needle and Thread. There's one for each month, as you might guess. It's not a huge project. It's maybe the size of 2 ornaments. And so here is where I am currently. You kind of can barely just see the little snowflakes that are between the word January and the sled and cold. They're really pale, but you can kind of sort of see them, hopefully. I am doing this on a 32 count linen from Picture This Plus. The colorway is Earthen. And I am using the called for threads, which are Gentle Arts floss of various and sundry kinds. I did switch out the white. The original white that was called for was shaker white, and it has kind of a beige tinge to it, and it was not showing up at all on this fabric, as opposed to barely. I switched out the shaker white to chalk, which in real life is much easier to see. So these are really cute, you know, fun ones. Like I said, they're not very big. This is the bottom of this one, and they're longer than they are tall. So I think I have enough fabric that I can do 2, you know, do the January month and then do another month down here and cut them apart and use them to make just some small cushions. I want to put them one up each month on our mantle, where we just have pictures normally in the non-holidays season. So I thought these would be really cute. I love the little snowman on that one, and the holly bush, holly leaves. That's what I'm trying to say. So those are fun. These are like a fun little kind of potato chip sort of stitch. They don't take, it doesn't take really any time to do the words, and there's not a ton of in-depth motifs, and it's certainly not full coverage. So I've been enjoying that one. That's been kind of, when I know I don't have very much time to work on something, I can pick it up and just chip away at a little bit. So those are all my works in progress. That is everything, which is plenty much. Okay, so going forward, so my December plans. Like I said, I decided that I would like to try to put a rotation in place for myself, because I would like to focus on getting some things done, look at maybe trying to get one of these things finished up in December or pretty close, because I have something new that I want to start for the New Year, New Start Stitch Along with Stitch Mania on January 1st, which I'll show you in a minute. So here is my plan. The projects that I want to work on are going to be, the winter garden will be this month, and what I thought I would do is, the winter garden is 4 pages, and so page 1 is there, the end of poinsettia. So I have the rest of the junipers to do, and then I have the poinsettia motifs. So that would be page 1. If I can finish that page 1 this month, or this week, sorry, I have Helper Kitty making another foray into the middle of things, like she does. If I can get a page finished on that, then if I have any time left over at the end of the week, I will work on the decorating the wreath, the Heaven and Earth decorating the wreath, because I do want to focus on that in 2017 and get as close to that, get that as close to a finish as I can over the course of the year, because I know it's going to take a while. I'm going to put the big a stitching shelf, the first one I showed you, I'm going to put that on hold completely. I'm not going to work on that at all until I get the decorating the wreath project done, because I think realistically, with the limited stitching time I have, trying to work on 2 heaven and earth designs at once is just not, it's just not going to work. Or at least it's not going to work for me and how I kind of have to divvy up my hours. So Winter Garden will be this week. Then next week, which is the 11th of December, I'm going to work on my wordplay. That's the one I just showed you last, the January one. And I'd like to try to get that half finished. If I can get that half finished, then again, at the end of the week, I'll work on decorating the wreath. The week of the 18th, that is when the next clue in the Tempting Tangles welcome sal will be out. So I thought I would work on that and get those 2 clues caught up. And then again, decorating the wreath. That'll be my repeating phrase here. And then if I get that caught up, if I get the Tempting Tangles stitch along caught up, I'll go back and work on wordplay for the week of the 25th, because then that way I might even be able to have that one finished, the wordplay finished by the end of the month. We'll see. That's my tentative plan. And I think that way it will give me some focused time. There's a couple of weekend rushes from the Cross Stitch Finish Line group, the weekend of the 16th and the weekend of the 30th, that I find working on the Heaven and Earth designs is really easy to do for the weekend rushes, because you know you're working a lot of times, or most of the time I work in blocks. It's easier to count those. Oh, sorry guys, let me grab that. It just never fails. Sorry about that. Phone ringing, gotta answer it. Just the story of my life. Anyway, I picked a time I thought I would not be disturbed at all, and so that's why the phone rang. Back to plans. Okay, so those were my plans to try out that rotation for December, and so I'm going to see how it goes. I was watching Blitz Stitch's, Brian of Blitz Stitch's most recent podcast, or the one just before the one that he's released, where he was talking about his rotation and why he likes it. And it's, you know, it's kind of the same thing for me. I like to plan stuff, and I like to kind of have stuff laid out in advance, and it takes away the what shall I work on conundrum for me. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with too many choices, and this way if I'm like, I know this week I'm going to work on X, that's what I work on. It's really a helpful thing for me, and I know some people don't like that and want to just pick what they want to pick, and that's great. I think that's wonderful that they can do that. I'm not really wired that way, so for me it helps to have a plan, and it helps to have a list, and it helps to say, this is what I'm working on this week, and then whatever I get done on it, I get done. I can't put too many deadlines on myself with things, because stuff changes around here so quickly. I was feeling really good just before Thanksgiving. I felt like I was finally kind of coming to the end of a lot of work projects, and I was getting some stuff kind of tidied up, and I felt like I could get through everything else I needed to do by Christmas, and maybe even have some days off that week because my husband's off. And things just snowballed again, and so I will probably be working every weekend again until Christmas. And while I am going to take Christmas Day off, you know, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to wind up working at least half a day Christmas Eve, and I'll be right back at it on the 26th. So anyway, that cuts into stitching time, and you know, it's just so rude that you have to have a real job and have it take away time from your hobbies. That's just, we should all be independently wealthy. Okay, ramble much. Next, I wanted to share with you guys my plans for 2017. So I talked about a new start, and what I'm planning to do is to start the village of Hawk Run Hollow. I'm sure you guys have seen this out in the rest of the cyber world because there's tons of people working on the Hawk Run Hollow patterns. They're really fun. I love the kind of primitive stitching of it. I opted to do mine on a 22 count hardanger, which is not, I haven't seen anybody else work on those. Not that this is good or bad. It's just what I decided to do. I didn't want to do I didn't want to do it over 2, and so I didn't want to use like a 32 count or 40 count, but I also didn't want the size to be massive. I wanted to keep it fairly manageable, and I think I'd have to check my notes, but I think if I use the 22 count and do like 1/1, I will wind up, okay, more cat. Obviously, she will have to go in the other room. Next time I record a video, I apologize. It will keep it somewhere in the range of 10 by 12. That's not quite exact, but it's close enough. You guys can get the gist. Anyway, the fabric I have picked is from Picture This Plus. The color is Legacy. It's a very subtly hand-dyed neutral. It's a little bit darker than an antique white. Just sort of barely tea stained. I really, really like it. And hey, here's the great thing. I am horrible with math. I mean, it is just not even funny, you guys. I have always struggled with it. It is something I don't, I triple check everything I do because I just don't get it right. And so I didn't get this right either. And the piece of fabric that I wound up purchasing for this project was actually double the size I needed. So I have another piece that's exactly the same size, and I'm going to use that for the Farms of Hawk Run Hollow, which will not happen in 2017, but I will be able to have those be matched on the same fabric, and then they'll look like a set, which makes me very happy. So sometimes things work out just as they should. But that is going to be my New Year's Day start. So next time I talk to you guys, hopefully all things going as planned, that will be started. I have the fabric ready, obviously, the pattern, and I have all of the floss here. I am using DMC and not the silk for this, but it's all bobbinated. It's ready to go. It's its own cute little storage box, so I don't have to think about it. It's just ready to go when the first comes. So the other thing that I'm doing for this upcoming year, for 2017, is I've joined the Stitch from Stash group. When I picked this back up, I had very little stash. I had some tools, like I have a set of scroll frames, and I had some hoops. I had some DMC and some other just spare threads that I had used for other things. And, you know, those don't go bad. I've had them in a storage trunk. They've been stored in one of the little plastic bobbin cases. So nothing wrong with that floss. And so some of the smaller pieces, like the ornaments, I was able to do some of that without really investing in anything. But that said, you know, Flosstube is an amazing enabler, as is Facebook, as is Instagram. There are so many amazing things out there. And so I could feel myself getting kind of tugged into that. I should buy that. I'll do it someday. And, you know, I went from having a storage box that's about that big, maybe that deep, that had 2 or 3 patterns in it, to having it filled. And I thought, you know what, I have to cut myself off here. I can't. I have plenty to keep me busy in the next year. If I just work on the stitching shelf, that would keep me busy for the entire year. I didn't need to get anything else. And so I decided if I made myself accountable through the Stitch from Stash, that would help me kind of keep focused as well, and not just, you know, get things with the thought of doing them someday, because I have plenty of stash in my yarn and my fiber, because I also knit and I hand spin yarn. So I have plenty. plenty. I have a wall of storage bins that is nothing but yarn and fiber. So I don't need to go there with cross stitch and cross stitch supplies. So 2017, my plans. Let me grab my book. Sorry. So you guys can have a close up of my bangs. All right. So what I'm going to be working on in 2017, and I am going to set up some kind of rotation just to keep myself with a little bit of structure. The Tempting Tangles Stitch Along is going to go on until sorry, I have winter allergies from the wood stove and stuff, and we've had it running all weekend, and so my nose is running, and I apologize for that. Tempting Tangles Stitch Along is going to be going on through April, so I'm going to keep up with that, and I know that that will be a finish in 2017. If I do, that's straightforward, that's easy, right? Like I said, I would like to try to have the January wordplay piece done completely no later than the end of January, but I would love to have it pretty close by the end of December if I can to a finish. It probably won't be fully finished, but I want to get the stitching done on it. So I'll have those two projects to work on. I'm going to be working on the Village of Hawk Run Hollow. And if you are interested and follow me on Instagram or follow Color and Cotton, who is Angela on Instagram, she and I are doing a just very casual stitch along together for Village. There's also, I'm also a member of the Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow Facebook group, which has kind of an ongoing stitch along, and you can do any of the Hawk Run Hollow patterns through there. So you can check any of those out if you want to stitch along with Angela and me. We'd love to have you. Like I said, super casual, very straightforward. There's like no real pressure. My plan is to try to do a block a month. And there's 12 blocks, so this theoretically could be finished up at the end of 2017. I'd like to try to do that. We'll see how it goes. Again, I'm still not great at gauging how long it takes me to do a certain amount of cross stitch, so we'll just see. Stay tuned. So I'll have that, and then my other kind of ongoing project will be my Decorating the Wreath, my Heaven and Earth project. If I can get that finished over the course of 2017, that would be a major bonus. I would love to be able to do that. And then I'm going to work on the garden series, the winter garden, spring, summer, and fall, and hopefully try to finish those up each quarter. I don't have any idea if this is even feasible with everything else that I want to do, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do that and just keep up with that. Once the Tempting Tangles Stitch Along is over, I will probably take that week that was in the rotation to work on that project and add in some smaller ornaments. I do have several patterns in stash. I have a couple of Mill Hill kits that I picked up that I would like to do, and I thought those would be kind of fun, smaller things that I could add into the rotation when I needed a break from some of the bigger projects, and I just, you just want to do something new and different, but without a ton of commitment on those. So not like that won't all keep me busy. So for the Stitch from Stash, I do have some smaller pieces of fabrics that I can use if I decide I want to do another one of the word plays. I've got fabric, not to do all of them, but enough I could start a couple. I have fabric and I would guess a fair amount of floss for most any of the ornaments that I would choose to make. The smaller things don't take a ton of fabric or a ton of floss to do. So I set my monthly budget with the Stitch from Stash group at $25, which I think should be plenty to cover pretty much anything I would want to do. Like I said, Village is kitted. That's already kitted up. The gardens that I'm working on, I have all the fabrics for those. I have most of the floss already. There might be a couple that I would need to pick up, but it wouldn't be very many. I have at least half, if not more, for each of them already ready to go. The two Heaven and Earth designs, they're already kitted up. I don't have to do any, there's no purchasing I need to do for those. They're already started, so I'm good to go on those. Trying to think what else. The Tempting Tangles Stitch Along, I'm in the midst of that. There's one color I may have to purchase a second skein of, depending on what the next part of the Mystery Stitch Along looks like, but I think I might be okay. We'll see. But you know, again, one skein of floss is not a huge amount of stash addition. I am getting the Stitchy Box subscription for next year. That was a Christmas present, early Christmas present, but I'm getting that over 2017, so that doesn't count towards budget. And I know that's got some fabric and floss in it. And I also contacted Angela at Coloring Cotton because she does a hand-dyed floss club that's once a month, and it's very reasonably priced, but I thought, well, you know what, I'll see if I can pay up front. And so I covered the first 3 months of the year, January, February, March, had her invoice me for those. So those 3 will come in over those months, but I won't be paying anything for them in 2017, if that made any sense at all. Ramble much. Oh, and then the last thing that I have, but I don't know when I will start it. I'm going to see how well I do in December with my current rotation, is the Lakeside Under the Sea Stitch Along. I did order that, and I ordered fabric and the floss plus the pattern coming as a PDF. So I'll have that to look forward to, and that's the first installment of the pattern shows up that first couple days in January. So I'm excited about that one. I just don't know if I will start it and keep up with it, or how exactly I'll work that. The Tempting Tangles Stitch Along is small enough that it's possible I could do both during that rotation week. And I kind of I've penciled that in as a possible way to do that, and then work on both that week and try to keep up with the Under the Sea Stitch Along as I go. And then once the Welcome Sal is over, it'll be even easier, in theory, to keep up with that. So I think that is all I have today. Like I said, gosh, I feel like I've talked forever. But that should cover my plans, my getting through the end of the year and kicking off 2017. And I am hoping for at least a little bit of downtime now that we've kind of gotten over and through all of our visiting guests and travel. We just have some, you know, like weekend parties to go to locally here, but we're not going to be traveling for the holidays. We'll be here at home. So really looking forward to that. The weather here has changed from Indian summer to definitely a winter feel. I think we had one day over the weekend, it was like 12 when we got up here, 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So nippy, which is fantastic. It actually feels like it's time for Christmas, which I love. So yeah, I think that's about it. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. I will plan on recording again just after the turn of the year with my January plans, and see how I go on my new rotation. So until I talk to you guys again, have a wonderful, very happy Christmas and Happy New Year as well. And I hope for lots of wonderful things under the tree, in your stocking, and on your hoops. Take care. We'll talk to you guys next year. Bye.